Good morning, everyone. And this is the title of my presentation, The Saga of RIESI, an Institutional Narrative. I'll be mainly talking about the precursor to the establishment of Regional Institute of English, South India, Bangalore. So this was the year 1959 when there was a huge campaign going on in the state of Tamil Nadu. It was called Madras English Language Teaching Campaign. The short form was MELT. So this was a campaign that started in the year 1959 and went on till 1964. It's a major moment in the history of English language teaching in India. There was a need to train nearly 27,000 teachers in Tamil Nadu to teach English from Standard 5 instead of Standard 6. It looks very simple, but till then, 6th standard was a part of middle school. So 5th standard belongs to the elementary school. From 1 to 5 you have the elementary school. And then since independence, the sound of English had not been heard in these elementary schools. So for the first time they're going to teach English for 5th grade children. And obviously the British Council, the Tamil Nadu government approached British Council and they took up this stupendous task of training 27,000 teachers. And fortunately, they had a syllabus which was ready by then. In 1952, the then Madras state evolved the first structural syllabus at secondary school level in the entire country. This was designed by someone called Mr. Forrester. I just read out the name. Mr. Forrester from a training college in Madras. What's his full name? John Forrester was teaching at St. Christopher's Training College. So he evolved the first structural syllabus in 1952. So the MELT campaign made use of this structural syllabus for training teachers. So the philosophy was based on the then prevailing structural method along with the situational approach as opposed to the grammar translation method. Structures were introduced in some situations through reading passages and dialogues. I don't know whether others are going to talk about this, but this is a very successful campaign which was done rigorously and very systematically. Teachers were trained in a 4-tier system, it seems. This is what the literature says. And the 4-tier system was, there were British Council trainers on the top. A British Council team led by Lionel Billows, who was leading the entire team. And then at the second level, you had staff tutors who were selected from a large number of teachers who were able to use English, well-known group of teachers. They were at the second tier. They were called staff tutors. And at the third level, you had teachers who were trained, who were given the primary course training. It was an intensive 3-week primary course for graduate teachers, maybe teaching English at the high school level. And then there was a secondary course for the target teachers who were supposed to teach grade 5 children. This was a part-time course. They had to attend 2 evenings in a week for about 20 weeks. And then once they complete this 20-week secondary course, they were assumed to be competent to teach the first year syllabus in 5th standard. And the secondary course was completely monitored by David Horsborough, who he was supervising along with the staff tutors. So it's called 4-tier system. And yes. And then, so because it was successful, then other South Indian states, Kerala was the first state to show interest in training primary school teachers of their state. So they took them, they wanted to take the model of this Madras English language teaching campaign and other South Indian states, namely Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh, then United Andhra Pradesh. They also showed interest. They were keen to have their primary school teachers trained. And so the establishment of Regional Institute of English was a follow-up of this campaign, MELT campaign. RIE was established in the year 1963. And this training institute was established with these objectives to improve the standards of teaching of English in primary and secondary schools in the 4 states of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. Actually, so these 3 states again approached British Council because British Council completed the task of training thousands of teachers. So they thought British Council could help them in training their primary school teachers. But then, unfortunately, British Council said, we won't be able to do that, training teachers in 3 South Indian states. And they suggested an alternative. The alternative was all the 3 states, along with Tamil Nadu, coming together and forming a common training center for teachers of English. And they thought Bangalore was the ideal place. So RIE was established in Bangalore. And actually, when the Madras English language teaching campaign was going on, the Vice Chancellor of Kerala University, Mr. K.E. Raja, he heard about the training and he went to one of the training centers, it seems. There were 4 training centers in Tamil Nadu. He visited one training center. He observed one of the classes of a British trainer and he was very much impressed. And then he spoke to the government of Kerala. He tried to establish a state institute of English in Kerala. And then they came up with this idea of a common training center. Right. So, they wanted RIE to follow 3-tier system, not a 4-tier system. 3-tier in the sense there will be British Council trainers at the top, and then they will do the primary courses for graduate teachers, British Council, along with the Indian staff actually. They will train graduate teachers who will in turn train primary school teachers. That's called a secondary course. And then the idea was to, so graduate teachers would get the training at RIE, they would go back and train primary school teachers in different training centers. And then, I'll come to that later. So these were the major objectives: to improve the standards of teaching English in the 4 South Indian states, to train teachers, to undertake and facilitate conferences, seminars, to prepare suitable textbooks, guidance and other materials, to afford help to the 4 states in drawing up a common syllabus in English, and then to undertake research studies in ELT and to conduct regular and need-based courses in English language. And the first RIE course, it was for 5 months for graduate teachers. This started on the 7th of October 1963 for about 80 trainees from 4 different states. Actually, then the training happened on a rented building, it seems. It was, for us it's all easy to talk about, but the kind of effort that went into the establishment of an organization like RIE, they were searching for a building, and then somebody, there was a landlord initially who refused to give her house on a rent basis, and then the British Council asked the librarian of British Library Bangalore to approach the landlord and then convince her. She refused to rent it out, it seems. Then I think it was who is that? Some British Council representative from Delhi. He came down to Bangalore. He tried to persuade the landlord. Then finally she agreed to rent it out. And then I think on the spot he gave her a check without the approval from the head office. Later it was approved. So the training building was ready. Then they had to look for accommodation for the trainees. There was a godown which was used by a company. Then luckily by then they moved out of Bangalore, it seems. So they used the godown as accommodation for the trainees. So that's a history. Then 80 trainees who completed their 5-month training in the year 1963. Yes, so the founding director was Professor M.M. Ghani from Kerala, who was teaching at a university then. So he was deputed to RIE. And then 4 D.A. Smith, R.E. Wright, David Horsborough and James. 4 of them were deputed to RIE as British Council officers. And the pedagogic principles followed were that of structural, oral, situational. And these British Council officers drew up the syllabus for training teachers. Mainly it was David Horsborough who was given the responsibility of framing the syllabus and the training content. So the emphasis was on improving the proficiency in English of the participants and their knowledge of methodology through a series of demonstration lessons, talks on principles and methods, group work on speech and usage, and lesson planning and intensive teaching practice. Actually, there is another interesting thing. Before they began the training center, establishing a training center took a little time, but then all these tutors, along with British Council officers, there were 6 lecturers. All of them were trained at either University of London or Leeds University. They were all part of Madras English Language Teaching Campaign. So 6 lecturers joined, Indian staff, and 3 professors who were also part of MELT campaign. They joined as trainers. And the interesting thing is they all had to teach in a corporation school in Bangalore every day before starting this training program and even after starting the 5-month training program. And this is the Donald Smith, the first director of studies. Next to the director was director of studies, who was a British Council officer. And he says, the RIE gave more time and prominence to demonstrating and practicing than any other ELTI in India. So far as I am aware, no other training institute required its staff to teach daily in a school. So they had that practical experience of interacting with students at the primary schools. So this was a kind of material used, especially in a language. We had a language laboratory even then. So they established in 1970s, I think. Till 2003-4, we were using this kind of material. Still, we have audio recordings, the books published by Penguin. This was published by Penguin called Success with English, the Penguin course. This is teacher's handbook, and there is a course book as well. I'd be happy if one of you can just read it out. Anybody who can read out? This was the first unit actually. Just can, yes. Huh.
Yeah, please. Julian and Martin and the picture. Martin: what's that, Jill? Is it a leg? Yes, it is. It's a leg. And that is a leg.
Yeah, they have to look at the picture and practice. Yes.
Okay, Martin. Yes, it is. Julian: oh, and is this a leg too, Martin?
Right side.
Okay. Yes, that's a leg too. Oh, yes. And this is a head. It's a horse. This is
the head,
and that is the tail. Julian: oh, yes. Jill: what's that? Is it a head? Yes, it is. It's a head and an arm. And this is an arm?
Is this an arm?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And is this an arm? Yes, it is. It is a girl. It's a girl and a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a girl, and that a horse. But what's this? Is it an arm? No, it isn't. It isn't an arm, and it isn't a leg. It's a wing.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it is. Is this a wing? This is a wing, and that's a wing. Is it an aeroplane? No, it isn't. It's a bird. This is the head, and that's the tail. This is a bird, and that's a horse. But what's that?
Like this. That's the first unit. So what's the kind of pattern they are practicing? What is the structure they are practicing? Yeah,
this
teachers.
and that.
This is, that is. Yeah, sorry. This is, that is, and then is this, is that. This isn't, that isn't, right? Is it? So initially they'll practice these pattern structures, and then they'll practice the dialogues. So that was a kind of material being used. Yes, so RIE have, by and large, I think RIE was able to fulfill the objectives for which it was set up. Like, they produce a series of linguistically controlled books. They are called English readers for primary school children, with the teacher's handbooks based on structural syllabus. And then radio programs were broadcast for teachers as well as primary students, again based on structural syllabus in 1960s and 70s. And then, interestingly, they established 12 training centers. These were called English Language Training Campaign Centers, ELTCs. 12 centers in Andhra Pradesh, 4 in Karnataka, and 3 in Kerala. So, in these training centers, they were running 6-week training courses for thousands of primary teachers. So 1965, RIE prepared a common syllabus for teaching English in primary classes in 4 South Indian states and syllabus for teacher training courses. I think that was a major objective, to draw up a common syllabus for 4 South Indian states, which is not happening these days. Every state has a different syllabus, different policies, education policies, but then we had a common syllabus. And the RIE staff, that's right. They themselves go and teach in a school. And then in the early 1970s, there was some discontent with structural oral situational approach, with the structural practice, structure being introduced through dialogues and all that. So 1975 onwards, especially these trainers, teach educators, they were aware of new pedagogic approaches being explored abroad, such as notional functional syllabuses, communicative perspectives on language, and the designing of English for specific purposes, such courses. So RIE conducted a series of seminars held in different parts of the countries, in these training centers, different parts. And then it seems the training cost was, for a 2-day conference, the training cost was 653 rupees for a 2-day conference. And then a new teaching project was set up in the year 1978. It was a 5-year exploratory teaching project, referred to in the literature as the Bangalore project. It's also called the Procedural Syllabus Project or the Communicational Teaching Project, which was led by Dr. N.S. Prabhu, who was the Special Officer for English with the British Council then. I think this was the first decentering initiative, a kind of decolonizing English language teaching and English language teacher education. And then in 1980s, there was, the then director calls it the era of disquiet in RIE, began in 1983. There has been no dearth of good intentions, but dearth there is when it comes to paying hard cash for maintenance. It was very difficult to get funds from the member states. They were struggling to pay the salaries of the tutors, lecturers, professors. Right, so there is an interesting account of all this in the RIE journals and newsletters. And in 1988, they had a Silver Jubilee celebration. By then, RIE had trained 3,676 graduate teachers. So from 1963 to 1988, for about 25 years, through 5-month and 4-month courses, and then along with some short-term courses. So Andhra Pradesh 841 teachers, Kerala 999, Tamil Nadu 937, Karnataka 899 teachers. So this was a scenario then. And then some of the milestones, like they were able to develop a battery of tests for the Bureau of Languages and Scholarships of the Ministry of Human Resource Development of the Government of India through Indian missions abroad to foreign students. This was especially a test designed for giving admission to foreign students through giving admission to Indian educational institutions. So tests made ready in record time, it seems. No other organization was not able to do. CFL was there then, Central Institute of English, but then even they were not confident of taking up this task. But RIE completed it in a record time. And then preparing a test for English proficiency for the school leaving stage, a task assigned by the Government of India, accomplished in record time again. And then they were running 6 distance education programs, collaborative training programs with national organizations such as Air Force and then the NCERT, Navodaya Vidyalaya Samiti, CBSE, and universities and colleges. Even the High Court of Karnataka approached RIE to train their staff, it seems. And 2 major journals were being published, 25 publications they had by then, 1988. And then they were training foreign students, and teacher training happened outside the 4 states. Goa and Lakshadweep also approached RIE and wanted their teachers to be trained. And seminars, workshops were being conducted. Right, so that is the picture then. Now the scenario is completely different actually. I don't know if I've got time, but then this is 2022-23. So in 1 year, we were able to train around 2,372 teachers. Primary, secondary, long-term, short-term programs. And then these were a variety of programs we conducted last year. And then, mentoring, and then spoken English, and then training for English medium teachers, and 2 distance mode programs of 1 year duration, some research studies. So from 19, this is a timeline. 2003, we did a big survey on the use of English, and we recommended to the government of Karnataka to introduce English from grade 1. So in 2007 and 8, English was introduced as a subject from standard 1 in Karnataka. And 2019-20, again based on a research study, Karnataka government introduced English as a medium of instruction in select government schools from standard 1. So 2019-20, it was called English medium. 2021, again based on our report, we labeled them as bilingual schools, not English medium schools, bilingual schools. And now, this year, we are calling them multilingual. We have introduced multilingual pedagogy in these English medium schools. We are training teachers on multilingual pedagogy. So that's a kind of timeline. Yes. So I think some of these are decentering initiatives. Yes. So I'll conclude. This is teachers are conducting exploratory action research studies in a very big way. They're designing their own activities, a kind of curriculum for action research studies, and then these are 2 major decentering initiatives we are doing. I think in that sense, the institute is more or less autonomous. We don't depend so much on foreign agencies. I think we should look for alternatives in language teacher education programs. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.